Now you can hear me. So, hope everyone is having a great night. I'm sorry that I'm a little bit late. I had to finish up some stuff at work. And yeah, I think we are ready to start and finish um, our freaking Seraphon Dino, which is taking more than it should, actually. But hey, we are just trying to learn as we go. And one of the things that I tried to do was to increase the depth and the contrast on the skin, right? And I had a little bit of a difficulty there because I tried a lot of shit and I almost ruined the miniature, which was kind of sad, but at the same time, I managed to find a way. And this way that I managed to find was actually, I think it was at the end of the last year's stream, last week's stream, actually. So basically, what I did, why is it showing like a type of something? Like, what the heck is going on with this camera? Give me just 1 second, guys, because I don't know what the fuck is going on. But this camera, though, what do you mean by type something? You know what? I'm just going to change the source because why not, right? So yeah, as I was saying, um, as I was saying, one of the things that I found the other stream last week was that we can actually, when we are trying to use a certain tone for highlights, one thing that I found was, and I found it accidentally, like I pulled my brain out of my ass, and it just came to me, which is like, if we have a bright color, like example for this red, if we have a huge uh, bright color like this red, this wash, or this red, or the deep red from AK, reds, or the main 5 colors on the color wheel, so being red, yellow, blue, these main 3 colors, the primary ones, they actually um, they actually give you a notion which I didn't know, or I knew but I didn't understood it until last week, which was like the red is at its highest volume, right? So you can't make a red redder than what it is actually. You can make it more intense, but there's a degree where it can go, right? The same thing happens with the yellow and the blue. What this means is if I add white to the red, for example, if I add white to the red, I'll begin to have like a tone which is weird, right? Because it starts to bring it down and it goes almost to pink, right? So and I was a little frustrated because I wanted to be like a, you know, when you add to a brown some whitish yellowish tone and it highlights that brown and it doesn't stop being a brown but it's whiter. Well, with the red you can't do that because the red is on the highest level possible of its own highlight. So what I thought to myself is, well, if I have the highest, why don't I bring everything around it down, right? It's a simple actually uh thought process, but somehow it never occurred to me to do that. So what I did was I did the following, guys. I got my Seraphon Dino here, and what I did was I had the so this tone, this red tone, is what I had all over the miniature, right? So what I did was trying to bring it down around it. Curiously, what helped me figure this out was I was using a Numoil um, mixture that I have here. Like you can even see, I have this custom mini mix. And the thing was, when I brought this one to the crevasses of the, the spaces between the scales, because the Numoil and because of the white spirit, it's so it easily goes to around it everything. It helped tone down the red that I had on the scales. So as soon as I gave them a red, I instantly got a highlight, right? Like for example here, this was the last part where I did the Numoil, and you can see there's some imperfections here that need some fixing, but all good. Yeah, you can see that as soon as I gave the red right away, I already instantly have a highlight here, where the top part is here, also here. The knee, the thigh and the knee is a little bit toned down because of the white spirit, and the same thing going around here. So the problem that I have at the moment is, sorry, I had to light up a little bit. So the problem being that I had was I was trying to forcefully increase the highlight of a red without going to pinkish, which is impossible because of the spectrum of the color. So what I learned is if I did that, and the next thing that I understood is when you have something that it's too red and the light of the sun is shining it through, you will actually see like some sorts of oranges, right? So what I and 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 keep this in mind, guys. I didn't follow any tutorial. I just went on with it, and I tried and implemented what was going on in my head. So I got to this four tones, and I came to this conclusion where I can have these four tones, and they can help me get this highlight that you can see here. I think this highlight is actually pretty cool. I didn't use this four. What I did was I had this red, and I kept on adding this pale yellow. I added the medium, this medium orange, but I didn't have added this one. But what I'm going to try to do today is trying to use these four and try to implement the best way possible the highlights. I think I did a pretty good job, and the key to this was dilution, a lot of dilution. And since we have a lot of darkness around the scales, as soon as you put a highlight, it instantly brought the the light source up, which is insane. And actually, this now reminds me that a lot of times in the past I had trouble doing highlights, especially on non-metallic metal or on gold, for example, and even on skin. What I didn't understood is for us to have a good highlight, you really have to be careful with the contrasts between shadow and light. And I actually, like, I think I can show you guys, but here you might see a little tone there. This was because I had the red, and it was actually this red, and as soon as I added white or pale yellow or even ivory, for example, the red turned pink. And I thought to myself, well, if this turns to pink, I don't want it to be pinkish, so scratch that. I added white as how do you say it? Fuck, an edge highlight, and then I did a two or three thin layers of red on top of it, but even still, it was pink. Because again, if we have tones like the primary tones, like red, yellow, and blue, you can't go higher in the highlight. Meaning, when, well, actually, the blue, it depends, but the blue will not be a lighter, hard blue. It will be a soft blue when you add the white, right? And red, depending on the tone, but normally red with white becomes pink. And the yellow, depending on the tone, but normally a harsh yellow will become beige, right? So you can't have actually a proper highlight tone. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but what I did was recapping, tone it down. As soon as I toned down the red, I used the darker reds. As soon as I edge highlighted with the normal red, and then with the orange, automatically it popped out just like a, and that was a big breakthrough in my mind because I didn't understand that. Like I read a lot of um tutorials, and I have some couple of books like the Angels Veraldes and everything. But I didn't actually understood these little tiny notions that actually make sense and can help you out. And even though they say like you have to be careful with the contrast and the contrast of the shadows and the lights, because otherwise you won't be having the you won't be tricking the eye to make it look like it's light hitting it on the surface of whatever you're trying to apply that light. I didn't understood that because when I was doing the swords here, like this one, when I was doing this sword, um, like what I was doing here was I did a black, then a slightly gray bluish tone, a gray tone, and a white tone, and I just faded it. But it doesn't come right out to mind that like even when you have black and white and you try to make a gradient to it, it will instantly be a highlight, right? It doesn't like I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but that it's not that easily to understand that when you have a color, for example, if I had this violet to be the highlight, I would have to have like something that it's violet but really dark to make it pop out. Or normally when I see videos on YouTube and whatever, what you see is them going from a dark color or a dark tone or even one of these tones and using this one to do a highlight. And what do? They just add white or yellow or whatever you want to highlight with. And that was what bugged me because I saw some people like using oranges and everything and then going from the orange straight to a huge bright highlight. But what I didn't understood was around the areas where they were trying to highlight, you would have a really strong contrast of colors that were really toned down. So yeah, I think that was my biggest breakthrough the other day. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to do highlights, like I said. We're going to do rope because I've never done rope, and essentially it will be like a couple of browns and everything, and just trying to give it a nice touch. I don't know if I have some tutorials here on the rope. Actually, I don't. I don't. But I think I have a more or less of an idea how we're going to do. It's more. It's similar to the way that I did the leather on the Creed soldier. So yeah, let's get to it. Let's just shake this one's up. I don't know if I'm actually going to use the gnome oil again, but I might try to use it on certain parts of the dinosaur. Because like the other night, I was trying to not highlight, but try to enhance the definition of it. And as you can see, I did a lot of gnome oil here, and I still have to cover some of them because it's really harsh on here, for example, in here. But we'll get to it. And I did here, and I think it worked well because here you have some really tiny dots of gnome oil. And what I thought to myself was, this part right here on the tail, it's really bland, right? It doesn't have the same depth, right? It doesn't have the same type of shadows, and it looks like kind of funky. Like this one has a lot of detail, This side doesn't have any detail at all on the tail. I'm talking on skin aspect. So what I'm trying to think is, and I'm trying to make up on my mind is, if I'm going to use the gnome oil on these tiny little um I don't know how to say it, but wrinkles, right? Wrinkles on the skin. So yeah, and even here, I should have done something better here on the sides of the neck, because this side is good. This side has a really strong gnome oil. Not sure though. Oh, and yes, and I still have to finish the gold here, even though this gold here is non-metallic, and the rest of the gold is is true metallic. I just wanted to do it like this, just to give it a nice little touch. And I think I might do this tomorrow, which is doing the marble effect here on this four horns, which will be a little bit tricky in terms of their position, because I'll have to use like a, I don't know, blue tack or something like that to protect the head. And yeah, and I want to do the eyes today if we have time. Not sure if we'll have time, but let's start with it. Otherwise, we'll lose time. Already 24 minutes of talking. Oh, guys, by the way, on the next week, I'll be on vacation. I won't be around town, so I might skip. It's not that I will skip the next week that comes by, but I'll put on the Twitch that I'm on vacation, just so you guys can track everything. Um, oh, another cool stuff that I did was I 3D printed this tiny holders. These were supposed to be for paintbrushes, but I rescaled them. It has the insignia of the Blood Angels, and then from the Inquisitor, or Inquisition, if you want to say it like that. And it's really cool because it lets you hold these. Because I normally had some piles around here, but the thing was, I ended up mixing ones that were dirty and ones that were good and everything. So yeah, that would be a bummer. Another tip that I can give you guys is really shake really well. Really shake really well. That's a nice sentence. Shake really well your paints, because normally people just tend to give it a whisk, right? And sorry about the. It's my vortex mixer. Just, and my camera doesn't have a stabilizer, so it's this. Because like when you don't shake the paints really well, what it might happen is the solutions inside of it might not mix really well. And even though it never happened to me, what it might happen is the paint and the solution that makes it dry won't mix well together. And when you're painting, some areas will dry well and stick to the miniature, and others won't, which is a bummer because I've seen other people try to like do that, or they tried to paint. I think it was like a 1 or 2 layers above a not well mixed paint, And the thing was, it actually went sideways because on the layers above, since the paint wasn't sticking to the miniature, it actually created a hole around that area where it didn't stick well. And the problem is, I don't know if you guys ever did um, a fix on a miniature or on a place of a miniature that actually went sideways. It's really tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's one of the toughest things is when you accidentally, there's a bubble here, when you accidentally just fuck up an area and you want to recover it. It's really harsh because you'll have to do the same amount of layers on that zone until it's even, and only then you can actually continue from where you were. So I know it's stupid, but it is what it is. Um, Another thing that I found out, I don't remember the name. I just had the name of the dude. But fuck it, I'll remember eventually. I found a YouTuber that actually responded to one of my doubts that I was having the other stream, which were, as you can see, this brush is really, or it seems like it's worn out, right? Because it has the hairs all over. But it actually is, it isn't. So when the brushes enter a deep state of dryness, at least it was like how he explained, if something is really, really, really dry, it loses its form. And kind of like, do you know, when on Mexico, you have something like when you put like a towel or something on the balcony trying to dry, and since it's so dry and so hard, the towel will maintain the form and it will lose its mobility and everything. So if you live on a really dry environment and really hot environment like myself here in Portugal, what happens is the brushes, when they are on the shelf or whatever for a small period of time, enough to completely dry, the bristles lose their flexibility and everything. So automatically you will see that the hairs split everywhere, but this doesn't mean that the brush is ruined. And what you have to do is you dip the brush for like, I don't know, 20 seconds or something like that. You swirl it around and everything, like I'm doing here. And as soon as it's becoming wet, you see that no longer the bristles are going everywhere. And we can even use the sponge here to all the moist and everything from the brush. And you can see that as soon as it's not dry, right? And you can see that it has no moist. You can even see on my finger. It has no moist whatsoever, but it maintains its form, right? So the other day I was saying like I didn't know what was happening with almost all of my brushes from Greens of World, mainly. Yeah, I think it was the only one. This is what it was happening. So yeah, onto the miniature. Actually, I forgot to clean some stuff, but let me grab Oh, for you guys that are listening, which I'm, I'll guess, but you guys might be new to it, to my stream. These are tattoo silicone cups. You can buy this on AliExpress. I think it's like a €2 or €3 for 100, like a bag of 100 of these. These are freaking insane, and I like to use this for metallics, inks, or even enamel washes, for example, like the ones from AK, like this one. These washes are enamel. It's flammable, so it contains not alcohol, but it contains like white spirit, right? They are not this. Oh, actually, they are the same as this ones, because this ones they also are flammable. So they're like pigment, but with white spirit already and whatever. So yeah, I use these ones for especially the metallics, because like this you won't ruin your wet palette. And this is something I actually don't have the paper. I think. Do I have the paper? Oh, I actually have the paper. Look, this was the last paper that I had, and as you can see, it is really dirty, but especially the metallic paint fucked it all over. So that's why I'm now using silicone cups for my metallics. Or when I want to use the when I want to use some thinner, which you're not obligated to use, I use it because thinner helps a little bit on the dry time of the paint. And this is actually true, what I'm saying. Not all of them do this, but the great majority will help a little bit on the dry time of the paint. How do I know this? I added some water to a little bit of paint here on my wet palette, even using the wet palette. And I did the same with the thinner, and you can actually see that with that experiment, depending on what you use to dilute the paint, it will help or not the dry time of the paint. And even though it's a little bit, stupid, because you have to pay for it for something that, well, with water you can just dilute your paints whenever you want, because this is acrylic paint, right? So yeah, unfortunately it is what it is, but I like to use the thinner because it really helps. It really, really helps. Let me just try, because I didn't use this red for these scales here, and I need to check something, because if I remember correctly, this red, when it dried, it was a little bit wider than I wanted to. Yeah, it's on the pinkish side also. So a good note is don't use deep red, at least for this combination. Let me check if the scarlet red This one is more orangey. I don't know what is up with that, but we even have blood red. But blood red, yeah, it's more pinky. At least it seems more pinky. And we don't want that. I don't know what's up with the AK inks, but like when it comes to red, they really miss out. Yeah, look. Yeah, it's not as red as the one from. It's not as red as the one from the Vallejo. So we'll go with the Vallejo one. I don't want to waste much time with it. And we'll add Scarlet Red. Test it out just really quick. And this is something when you're trying to at least understand this. I'm no professional, right? I'm just a newbie trying to understand stuff and trying to help you guys as I'm learning. I'll try to provide you guys the best way that I can on information and stuff to help everyone. The thing is, these stuff around what red should I use and what type of red or not, it's something that I actually not everyone tells you that. I think maybe Jose da Vinci give me a good notion about this. Masklands Miniatures also gives a good notion about this, which is you have to be aware of the look. You can even see on the palette the intensity of one red to another. Put this one here. Yeah, this one is more orangey. But we'll try anyway. Hmm. So let's do it right on the side. Yeah, you can even see that right away. As I was saying, as soon as you give a lighter color, it instantly helps. As soon as you have the darker color giving you that nice contrast, look at that. It instantly pops out. Just 3 scales, right? It's insane. But it's on the pinkish side. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's really different from this one because this tone is really reddish, right? This one looks like it's going not towards the orange. So yeah, and even on the hand, you can see that these ones were the ones from AK, and they're really orangey next to this one, which is really red. So I'm just going to layer above it and trying to not fuck up the contrast. You'll see that automatically it increases the volume right away. Just because we had a lighter tone beneath it, so automatically it still pops up the paint, right? It's almost like the same technique when you put like white and you give it a layer to pop out the paint that it's diluted above it, right? Because it will like almost blend, almost blend. So a cylinder. I want to try something, which is another thing that I found out. I always say this. Well, I didn't find out now. Well, another thing that a lot of people like Jose da Vinci, Masclan Miniatures, I don't know, Sergio Calvo, a lot of people tell you is to be mindful of the objects itself of the miniature. What they say to it about this is the following. From my perspective of what I understood is, let me swap out the brush, otherwise I'll fuck up something. So imagine this. Every piece of the miniature can be converted to an object. And let's say we have like cylinders, spheres. You can add triangles or cubes, even though triangle is not that type of object, like a pyramid or something like that. It will be the same. And for example, when you look yourself to your arm or forearm, if you had to remove and replace it, it will be a cylinder, right? And when you see that cylinder, for example, this bottle, oh, this is actually a good example. I didn't remember this first. So as you can see, the light that it's coming from my lamp, and since it's a cylinder, it will be a straight highlight, right? And you can apply the same theory that in spite, another tip that I'm going to do, in spite of the angle where you're watching it from, the highlight will stay on the same place. And this is something I didn't understood right away. Meaning, what I thought it would happen is independently of where you're looking from. No, actually, depending on where you're looking from, the light will stay on a place, and if you're looking from above, the light will be on other spot and everything. And it's not exactly like that. So as you can see, even if I put the bottle here or whatever, well, there is a slight inclination, but the highlight is always on the same spot. The focus one, like the main highlight, the strongest point, it's just slightly off. Of course, that if you put it like this, what I mean is, if you have like the bottle in front of you, you'll see that the highlight will be almost at the same spot everywhere, except of the harsh and most strong light. That will be slightly off on a place or another. And continuing from where we were, we can replace pieces of the miniature for those objects to give us a sense of how the light is going to be reflected. Uh, main, Mainly, for example, arms and legs and everything can be replaced by cylinders, right? Shoulders and elbows and heads, for example, they can be replaced by spheres. what I mean by this is you can mimic on those objects the same source of light. So, for example, here, what I thought was on this side of the hip normally it's like a ball joint, right? So it's a ball, it's a sphere. So what I did here was I tried to create a, a sphere centered highlight here, and I can go like a highlight here, like a stripe on this side, because it's a cylinder here with a ball, a sphere here. So sphere, cylinder, sphere, cylinder. Although here, for example, since we have the muscle, we could consider that the muscle is a sphere, right? And the underneath is the cylinder, and so on and so on. So here we have, oh, actually, I'm fucking this up, but here we have the shoulder. So here would be a sphered um, highlight, and this part here will be a cylinder with another sphere, and here cylinder, and so on. At least for me now, the hardest part is trying to understand what I'm going to do on this flat area. It's not that flat, but I could consider that this is a huge cylinder. So the highlight would be like this on here, like a stripe here. Not too strong, but I don't know if that's going to be good. I saw some people saying that the body could be like a huge ball, like a huge sphere. So you could put some bright spot there. Not sure if that's going to cut it, but I guess you now have like a notion of how you can apply that. At least it makes a little bit of sense to me. Not the one that I want to use. So we'll try to follow this teaching that they gave us, the gods of, and we'll try to concentrate the highlight here on here and make this centerpiece highlighted like that one on that spot. Um, so let me edge highlight here. On here, on the I can say the first highlight, right? On the first highlight, which is this one, what I like to do is I like to dilute it on a glaze consistency. And actually, I did it a little bit more close to the base color consistency. Yeah. So I can blend, not blend, but, you know, glaze right away and make a nice transition to it. Another thing is, please take your time. Be patient with your paint. Because, like, painting is supposed to be fun, right? And if you rush stuff, you'll be more infuriated and more stressed and not taking, taking the most out of it. Oh, another thing that we could do is we could give each scale like an object, but I don't think that's going to be smart. Not only is it going to take more time, I guess. Sorry, my tip of the brush is dried. So here what I'm going to do, or try to do, is I'm going to give the circular motion, right? The reflection to it towards these right parts, and then on the smaller scales I'll try to do here the highlight in the middle, just so we can maintain ourselves truthful to that theory of the objects and the highlights and everything. Give me just 1 second. Let me just grab a little bit of water because my throat today is a little bit dry because I went to dinner 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. Tonight ago's again. The fuck is going on with me? 2 nights ago, and we they, they were having like a huge football dinner and everything. That it was really noisy, and we had to like scream almost to talk with each other. And my throat is really fragile when it comes to screaming. As soon as I start screaming, the next day I'm like I can't almost speak. Also today I'm really fucked up on the head. I worked like a dog. So now it comes the moment of truth. Some people might want to mix these two, right? To have a really nice blend. I don't like to do that. Not only it makes it harder on smaller miniatures, and that's another tip that I can give you guys is don't use really harsh don't use a really wider number of paints for a really tiny miniature to do like a gradient. Why? For example, here you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 6 paints on this tutorial on the non-metallic metal from AK. And the thing is, in the betweens, they tell you to mix paints with one another's and everything to create like a cool transition between them. The thing is, when you have a lot of transitions and middle tones and everything, either one of these, either you have a huge mini, a huge figure, I mean, not mini, where you have large areas and everything, so you have a lot of room to play with, or on a miniature, you have a really nice long flat area or whatever for you to work with all those tones. Otherwise, you'll have like a really pain to create the blending. So what I like to do is I like to do 4 colors normally, And if I have to blend between them, what I like to do is I dilute this one and do like a glaze over the transition to help out, and then I'll dilute this one and do the glazing again, and like that I create like the middle tone, but it doesn't take, it's not too harsh, it's more smooth. So let's see how it works with this orangey as one of the main highlights. Hmm, it's looking good, right? It's looking similar, but it's really strong, which means that I dragged too much the orange. Like the orange has a really wider space than this one. This is more subtle. So what you can do is like bring it down and then fix it. Normally I just erase it completely. It's better, at least for me, it's better to just start again than trying to fix it, because otherwise I'll spend an eternity trying to fix it. The good thing is the red beneath will be automatically like highlighted. Look. Let me just do the highlight with the orange on the sorry, not the highlight, the edge highlight. I'll just do the edge highlight first, just to check something. So now it's looking more like that, yeah. Tip is dry again. Like I said, take your time, because you don't want to fuck things up. Another cool tip that I can give you guys is always drag your paint towards the area that you want to highlight. And what I mean by this is try to, when you're painting, the motion of your brush, you should try and drag, because when you're painting, if you notice, as soon as you lift the brush, you'll notice that it leaves some small puddles of paint. So when you're painting, if you want the area, for example, to be more highlighted here, you will drag from there to there, and you can see that there's a little small puddle there of paint. What time is it? We are already 1 hour in the stream. Mm. It's not too diluted. I need more dilution on this one. I just want to try and see if I can replicate. Yeah, I think it's like this. This is a really cool way for you to highlight without making it harsh and too strong, which is on the final highlight, you dilute it a little bit, and then what you do is from where the highlight is supposed to be, you'll start stippling. Because like you know when something that has light, it will start like fading in some parts depending on what it's reflecting on. You see like the light, it's fading as if it was almost dots. That's the same thing that we can do here by stippling, which is you create tiny dots where the center of your main source light will be. You would do more dots just to give it a notion that it's there, the main source, right? And then you start to stipple away to give you a notion in the eye like it's fading, right? At least that's how I learned it. So we fixed it by giving a little more harsh highlight. As you can see straight away, you can already notice that this miniature has two focal points of light, there and there, which is awesome. Stippling is a really cool source, not source, sorry, technique that you can use to create really nice stuff. Like you can either create highlights with it, you can even create texture with it. It's really nice. I really like this technique. Because it's subtle and automatically gives you a really nice control. And when you're doing this type of light with the stippling, be careful so you don't do really large globs, because you want to do really tiny, 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 tiny dots, like I'm doing there. Really tiny, tiny, tiny dots. That way, it helps create the illusion. Because if you put something really harsh, like a really strong piece of paint on the area you want to highlight, it will become strange. I'm not gonna lie. It's really close. I think the only difference being I have more. Let me dilute this red. I have more orange. Another thing, guys, is don't try to pursue the perfect stroke, the perfect stroke brush, a brush stroke. Mainly because it's really harsh to have a brush stroke exactly on the position you want, like it's meant to be. It's really harsh. It's something that it takes years and years and years and years and years of practice. And it's very specific to a certain type of paint technique. So it doesn't work with everyone, or it doesn't work to everything that you want to do. So be mindful of that. And what I'm trying to say is If you do mistakes, that's okay. Learn with those mistakes and try to fix them. That's a really good way. That's how I improved so much in the past month, I think, months in plural. So if this is a ball, highlight will be more centered towards the middle, right? Again, another thing that you guys can do is trying to make the brush stroke towards where you want to the paint to be. So fucking tired today. I should really get some sleep, and I will. Just want to finish this on the highlights. Maybe I should use the other brush, the one that is smaller for this type of jobs. But I feel like the brush stroke is too strong. I'm liking it. So I might remove this one from the equation, and I'll just go with these three, maybe. Oh, actually, and this one. So maybe the scarlet is down, and we use it this one, like this. Even though I'm a little bit pissed at AK because they don't have a single freaking red, which is red. Every single one of the reds of AK has a little pinkish tone or orangey tone. It's not straight red, which really makes me sad. maybe this new range of colors that it's coming out, maybe they'll wake up and do what I'm saying. Because look, all the colors, pinkish. All the reds are pinkish tone. Even this one's here, you see that you have, which one is this? 88. So if I'm to put here all the reds that I was going with, you can see that they're like pinkish, right? Or maybe it's me. Let me try again. On here, maybe. Yeah, it's on the pinkish side. Look, it's pinky. I think it's looking good, right? I think the leg now it's more vivid, the arm as well. But I think the arm it's too much. Maybe it's the angle. Maybe, just maybe. Hmm. I don't know why, but this highlight here on the arm, it's not cutting to me. Hmm. Maybe it's because on this side I have more of the top layer. Maybe it's that. Okay, I think like this, more noticeable. I was just changing the song. I think it's becoming good. Well, guys, it's already on the mark. I really have to go to sleep because tomorrow I'm going to be waking up really early to prepare some stuff for my vacation. And yeah, I need to get some sleep because today I worked my ass off and I'm really, really tired. But yeah, I think so far so good. I still want to blend these dots with a really thin layer of orange and stuff. It'll become smoother here as well and here. And we still have to understand how I still have to understand how I'm going to do the middle. I might just do like a bright area like this, going towards the up like diagonally. I'm thinking of doing that. Yeah, highlights take much more time normally than I normally visualize. But yeah, guys, thank you all for watching. If you guys liked, please give a follow. It helps out really. Um, it really helps out by a lot. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be doing a full stream because I'll have more time to sleep afterwards. And it's already 4 a.m. here, so yeah. Thank you all for coming, for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.